Hi, welcome to the Crypto Republic. Before we begin today, if you're serious about staying ahead in this once-in-a-lifetime financial shift, make sure you like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic. Hello, XRP Army, and welcome back to the Crypto Republic, your go-to channel for the latest high-energy updates in digital assets. Before we get started with today's business, make sure to smash that like button, ring that bell, and subscribe to the Crypto Republic, bringing you updates every day at 9 a.m., noon, and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Today, we're breaking down something absolutely massive for crypto, stablecoins, and traditional finance. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the U.S. debt situation is far bigger than most people realize, how cryptocurrency and stablecoins may play a role in a hidden $37 trillion reset, and why this could impact the global financial system in ways nobody is talking about. Stay with me, because this is information nobody else is connecting yet. But before we break this down, thank you to everyone who takes the time to like, subscribe, and share these videos. Your engagement helps get this information in front of more people. And thank you for shouting out where you guys are from. Your support allows me to keep bringing these deep dive, high-value insights to the crypto and finance community. Just a fast reminder, this video is for educational purposes only. This is not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. Let's get down to it, ladies and gentlemen. $37 trillion. That's the size of America's debt today, and it's growing faster than most people realize, by roughly $1 trillion every 100 days. Let that sink in. Interest payments alone now exceed defense spending and Medicare combined. Yet the system keeps moving. Foreign investors are stepping back. China is offloading treasuries. Japan is selling. On paper, the U.S. should be wobbling, but somehow it isn't, ladies and gentlemen. So what's really happening behind the scenes? And why do whispers about cryptocurrency keep appearing among economists and analysts? According to Anton Kobikov, senior economic advisor to Vladimir Putin, America may be preparing a crypto-based debt reset, moving trillions into what he calls the crypto cloud and effectively devaluing its debt globally. While some dismiss this as speculation, history suggests the U.S. has executed similar strategies before. America's debt problem. Imagine climbing a mountain that grows taller each day. That's the U.S. debt problem, $37 trillion and counting. Interest alone now costs over $1 trillion per year, more than defense, more than Medicare. Politicians aren't cutting spending or raising taxes, so how does a nation avoid collapse? The answer, ladies and gentlemen, devaluation instead of default. Every time debt reaches a critical point, the U.S. has historically reduced its real debt burden by devaluing the dollar, sometimes sharply, sometimes slowly, but always strategically. Lessons from history. History offers a roadmap. In 1933, Roosevelt's gold confiscation. Franklin D. Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6102, requiring Americans to hand over gold at $21 per ounce. Overnight, the government revalued it to $35 per ounce, a 67% devaluation. Imagine waking up to see a third of your savings vanish, but the government's debt became far easier to repay. In 1971, Nixon closes the gold window. President Nixon ended the dollar's convertibility to gold. Foreign nations holding dollars expecting redemption were left empty-handed. Since then, the dollar has lost 96% of its purchasing power. 2008, quantitative easing, QE. During the financial crisis, the Federal Reserve printed trillions to stabilize the system. From 2020 through 2025, the money supply grew from $15 trillion to $22 trillion, roughly a 43% increase. Real-world impacts. Gas prices rose 50%. Homes rose 50%. Food prices rose 30%. That $37 trillion debt still reads the same on paper, but it's now 43% cheaper to repay. Think of this analogy. Think of debt as a giant balloon. Every time the U.S. inflates the money supply, it's like letting out just enough air so the balloon doesn't pop. Controlled, strategic, effective. Ladies and gentlemen, I always go back to things I learn and things I see and how we go about this, right? At least how floor traders and locals look at this. Still having a bloodbath in the markets. You see things changing. We've been going over the BRICS, okay? Their unit, and why that's not going to try to be a world's reserve currency. That's just going to try to be a unit of trade between countries. Again, right? It's not trying to replace the US dollar. It's trying to open up another avenue of trade, a whole other trench that we have on our map, the East versus West, the commodity-backed debt for the future. These countries don't want to be any longer pushed around by economic sanctions, right? That's why we see everything, and I'm on the phones nonstop about the metals markets, about what's happening, that commodities are being forced into place where they are. Next year, you even have Goldman Sachs now talking about basically telling people to take a look at gold, tokenized gold. They think tokenized gold may not really have much of an effect as like an ETF. They may cannibalize each other, but you're having people say, why don't you take a look at this, that never said that before? Because why they're saying, why don't you take a look at this? And this is my opinion, when big banks say, why don't you take a look at this? That's basically saying maybe you should get some allocation of this and how this is going to do, because they could never say that before, because that would be an attack on the dollar. And they were always pushing the debt side, the debt-based system, the West side, the West trench, right? Okay. So now they're starting to say, why don't you take a look at gold and how this might be able to help you? There's a lot of things happening right now, right? And that's why your convictions got to be Gucci. You can't get cut up like sushi. The market right now is depressed right now. There's a lot of things happening right now that people aren't understanding, right? People can come out and say, oh, this unwound, this. My entire adult career on Wall Street, we had the Japanese carry trade. 30 years, right? You don't undo something 30 years and think that there's going to be no friction or no sell-offs. That carry trade inflated all the assets. That's what that did, ladies and gentlemen, okay? It inflated everything, right? So now we're going to see interest rates hike, and we got to see what the BOJ is going to say, right? I remember waking up early in the morning trading currencies when they would intervene and protect, the currency pair, and we would see candles just go bzzz, straight up. I mean, it was like raining money. It was like trolling going fishing. You throw out the lines, you drive around the boat and you wait for it, and then you just reeled that puppy in when it happened. Okay, it was very, very easy. The game has changed now. Things are so different that I don't even know how to explain this in 5 minutes, okay, let alone, an hour. But what's happening now is, and this is the big thing, right? Every time I went out with our organization to do geological surveys, we had to sign our life away with NDAs. We had to sign everything away, where we were going, why, what we were looking for, everything. You don't think the big banks right now and major institutions are doing this with XRP? I would bet my left kidney that they're doing this, okay, personally, right? Because I got two good ones, okay? I would bet the left one that that's what they're doing. They're not going to tell you. They're going to keep scooping this all up because the interest is massive. They don't tell you what they're going to do or me what they're going to do because they want to make as much money as possible and they want to control. The financial system used to be about freedom. Now it's about control. And that's why everything is happening today, okay? So when you look at all the things, if you look at the chart that we posted in the community post, right? We posted a couple of days ago. That's a gap that we could drop to. But here is where you have to be accumulating. See, and thank you everybody who comments about things. Leverage. We don't use leverage. If you're going to use leverage, right, you're going to employ chartist technology when you put in, why I say chartist technology, you're going to have a chart, you're going to put indicators, you're going to have when you get in, when you get out. That's why you're using leverage, okay? In the futures market, you got 3 weeks to offset or you got to roll over to the next month or they're going to deliver to certain things to you. I remember on the floor of the Mercantile Exchange, I saw they made fun of somebody one day because he had heating oil delivered to his house. It was crazy. He didn't offset his trade. That was some life lesson I learned from that. But my point of the matter is, if you use leverage, you got to know when to get out. You have an entry, you have a take profit, you have a stop loss, and your first loss is always your smallest loss. Never let anything run against you. But why we were talking about XRP being like crude oil, okay? Crude oil, the sweetest of sweet crude oil. You don't got to refine it, step on it that much. Not like what Valero's got to do with sour crude. They got to refine that a lot, okay? You're going to buy this, at least this is what we're doing, okay? We're doing this, and the people that retain us, we're hoarding as much as possible at different levels. We are buying for the future, the long run, because we see what's going up right now. It's like a digital city being built. We're watching the buildings go up. You acquire, you sell to cold storage wallet, and you wait for the future, okay? That's what we're doing with all of these things, okay? Because the future's coming, right? And we're going to get back more into this. But you got to understand something, right? When people talk about the carry trade, this, that, Finance as we know it's over. Everybody I know and I talk to on the street is doing a different playbook now, asking me what we're doing, what they're doing. Everybody sat at the lunch table. There's no more free money, right? No more free money. So people got to see what happens. We're basically now, if you want to look at this, crypto has become a spec on, spec off trade, right? Risk on, risk off. That's what it is. It's no different than technology, okay? But again, there is money flowing and it's not free anymore to places that could seek money, the path of least resistance. Right now, the metals are on a tear. So, that's like castles in the sky. It's going higher and higher and higher. Money's going to flow into that faster than anything else because the path of least resistance, the trend is your friend moving that way. But you don't use leverage when you get into this market. You're going to get cut up like sushi. Sushi, sushi, you done, okay? Bad sushi, no bento box. I don't eat sushi. I don't like sushi, okay? I don't want you guys, I want you to conviction. I want you to be Gucci. No sushi here. Small position sizes. What you do today, you got to have a couple years time horizon. That's what you're doing. If you have less than a couple years time horizon, then you are going to use leverage probably, which I disagree with, and take profit when you're in the money. If not, you're going to buy and you're going to add to your position. And this is, I'm not telling you what to do. This is what we do. You're accumulating. You're growing because you know where this is going. Remember what I said. You're sitting on your own personal major natural resource discovery in your cold storage wallet. And every time that you add to that, you're increasing your position by hectares of land, okay? And this is for your retirement, your long run. You'll look back on this, okay? People will thank you. But if you don't have a long-term horizon, you can't afford to do this, please take a step out and don't do this, okay? Because things are changing. And I don't want everyone to get cut up like sushi, right? I try to come on and tell you guys like we're packing up like the wolf. Remember, the wolf, my favorite animal. It's not the strongest in nature, but you don't see it doing tricks at the circus that try to tell you to lead you through what's happening right now. That's why we got the map on one side, the map on the other side, what's happening right now. Look, in Tennessee, they just came out with a, Korean zinc. They're going to basically be involved with making another smelter for rare earth metals, okay? And this is happening right around. You're seeing everything is changing, right? China just bought a massive gold company in Brazil. You see things happening right now. And believe me, people ask me this all day, what I think really is going on in Venezuela, my thoughts of that, right? From the eyes of a financial mercenary, okay? If you want the viewpoint from a financial mercenary, you're going to get it right here, right now, okay? They're trying to snuff out globalism. It's not about the crude oil that's in between Venezuela and Guyana and all these things. It's not about that, okay? It's about tracking the money where money goes to globalization, okay? If you snuff that out, you snuff out the oil coming out of Venezuela, Cuba collapses. Cuba needs that energy. If they don't have that, they're done, okay? Then you're going to see people freaking out, and you can track the money. You're going to see who calls who and why they bug out that this is happening, okay? It's an economic war that's happening right now, okay? You're seeing these things in a concert coordination to manipulate the price in exchanges. I don't have enough time for this. We're going to go over this in our Discord when it launches, all of these things, but that's really what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. And you can follow all this where it's going in the phone calls, right? But again, you have to know what's good for you. The same way I know what's good for me and the people that retain myself in our organization and everyone that works for us and everyone that I consult for of why, okay? So I'm trying to give you this financial mercenary perspective of what's really going on and why that was taught to me since I can remember on the floor of the Mercantile Exchange, ladies and gentlemen. And I want you to be Gucci. I don't want you to cut up like sushi, okay? I don't want that. I need you to have your convictions. And this is why you got to have your plan. If you write down your plan, your metrics, that's the most important thing. But I'm going to leave this. Every time we did geological surveys for certain organizations, there was like tactical redundancy. I knew there was other geological surveys going out doing the same thing that we would do in teams, because if we failed or something happened, they still came back with how did it get done, and their success wasn't dependent on our success, okay? So right now, you got to be dependent for your own success, for your own future, okay? Because the future is ownership. You need to be able to own your assets. I'm hearing talk on the street that next year there's going to be ninja loans for, businesses. Could you imagine that? Ninja loans for businesses. So we're going to try to print our way out of this. Private credit's going to go through the roof. They're going to try to get spending and spending and spending. So if you don't own anything, you're going to be left in the dust. That's why when people ask me what I think is proper for myself and everyone that we work for any capacity, not your keys, not your crypto. Whatever you buy for yourself, send it to cold storage. And believe me, the next few years, you're going to be happy that every time there's these red days, and every time I tell you we're like the remora going underneath, and every time people are getting smashed like sushi, you're not, because we're the remora underneath these big players. They're not telling us where we're going. You think the shark tells the remora we're going to swim to the left or right? No. We're swimming underneath these people right now, and we're doing what they're doing. They're not going to tell us what we're doing, where we're going. You got to prepare for yourself, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You got to prepare for yourself, all right? Cryptocurrency, a modern twist. Emerges cryptocurrency. Economists suggest America may use crypto and stablecoins to execute the next debt reset. Why? Because traditional inflation hits citizens immediately. Grocery bills spike, gas surges, housing costs soar, political pressure builds. But what if the impact globally could be exported globally? That's where stablecoins come in. Think about sprinkling a bucket of water across a large garden instead of dumping it on a single plant. Every plant gets wet, but no single plant is drowned. Stablecoins distribute the financial wetness globally. Few people, ladies and gentlemen, realize how deeply integrated this mechanism already is, okay? The system is quietly expanding behind the scenes. So how could stablecoins work, you might ask, ladies and gentlemen? Legislation now mandates that stablecoins be fully backed by U.S. treasuries or cash. Every dollar deposited automatically buys treasuries. Tether, 127 billion U.S. treasuries. Circle, 55 billion U.S. treasuries. Together, they rank as the 18th largest holder of U.S. debt worldwide, surpassing Germany, South Korea. By 2030, stablecoins could hold more treasuries than any foreign country. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent projects stablecoin holdings at $3.7 trillion by 2030. Transaction volumes are growing 50% year over year, and adoption is accelerating faster than projections, around 40% growth in 2025 alone. Ladies and gentlemen, millions of users are like tiny gears in a giant machine. Each gear is small, almost invisible, but together they move trillions of dollars. So it looks like private innovation, but behind the scenes, stablecoins quietly support U.S. debt on a massive scale, okay? So, I want you to look at the debt reset playbook here, ladies and gentlemen. Every major U.S. financial reset follows the same pattern. Phase 1, foundation building. Construct the mechanism quietly. Phase 2, adoption. Integrate broadly before the public notices. Stage 3, activation. Trigger devaluation. Reduce debt strategically. 1933, Roosevelt's gold confiscation. 1971, Nixon's gold window closure. 2008, quantitative easing. Today, potential crypto stablecoin reset. Why crypto now? It distributes impact globally, minimizing domestic political pushback. Millions of wallets holding debt prevent foreign investors from coordinating a sell-off. Okay? So here's some signals to watch for. 3 signals may indicate the next phase is approaching. Stablecoin adoption, exceeding projections. Major corporations issuing digital currencies. Official narratives about modernization of dollar integrating digital finance. Here's an analogy. It's like a magician trick. You see smoke and mirrors, but not the hidden strings. The system is quietly being constructed, and you may not notice until the final reversal and reveal. So, how do you protect yourself right here? Okay, people ask me this all the time. How do we protect ourselves? I'm on the phone all day. How do you protect yourself? Okay, this is just my opinion of what I would do for myself and what people who consult us, what they think is better for their own self. Okay, you could diversify into hard assets, gold, oil, real estate. You can have some investments in defensive stock sectors, rare earth mining sectors, energy, consumer staples. You can monitor stablecoin adoption trends. They could signal the next phase. But again, this is not financial advice. This is a broad basket of what some people are trying to do basically to protect themselves right now. Because again, I believe the future is about ownership. Everyone that asks me what I think, it's ownership and why and where we're going and the powers that be on Wall Street of what they're doing and why and what they're doing. Again, we're swimming underneath them, okay? We don't know where they're going, but we know what direction we're pointed in, okay? And if you know the map, like we go back and forth, we know what's in that direction and what's in this direction, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, understand that not all crypto is equal. Some may service and serve system functions while others carry different risks. This isn't personal financial advice, it's education, okay? The goal is understanding the mechanism and plan accordingly. So, ladies and gentlemen, the $37 trillion question isn't whether America will default, it's how we will write the rules. And cryptocurrency and stablecoins may be the tools for the next debt reset. History shows us a pattern. Build the system, gain adoption, trigger controlled devaluation. Only the tools involved, okay? So again, when I go over the map with you, we have the Eastern commodity-backed system and rail, the Western debt-backed system. So many things have happened in the last month. It's unbelievable. Right now, the markets are under pressure, ladies and gentlemen. Everything's under pressure. To me, we can see things drop. But again, If you're trading with leverage, the leverage people are getting cut up like sushi. They're done. Blood is in the street. Yesterday, if you're new here, welcome. Watch yesterday's video. Look at those indicators I spoke about, because the ELA indicator dropping, okay? If leverage is dropping right now, that means people are taking ownership. They're physically taking their coins off chain, okay? They're putting in cold storage. That is something you want to see, because that's going to stop massive spikes from up down, because these are people like myself and a lot of people that retain us. They want ownership for the future where we're going, okay? They want to own the real estate because they know what's going to be built on the real estate. The same way that we want to own the land. We know what's in the land. XRP is like oil, in my opinion. We want to own all the deposits. We want to own that, okay? We will figure out the demand and consumption of it later, but we want to own everything while they're building the infrastructure, okay? You have to understand this. The future is coming no matter what. Next year, a lot of economic policies are going to change. We're seeing the first craziness right now in Japan. Again, 30 years, my entire beginning on Wall Street, the carry trade, that's gone. We got to really pay attention now to what the BOJ says. Their wording is going to be key. It's more key right here. Their wording is key, but of what's going to happen with the yen, as far as I'm concerned. But what Jesse Livermore said, remember we talked about Jesse Livermore, position sizing? Jesse Livermore said not only is position size the most important thing, but position size is more important than any inside tip, because you will not get shaken out by the market. And remember, the moment that you think, oh my God, I can get rich fast, you're going to get destroyed and cut up like sushi, okay? If you're still here with us, you got to be able to stay in the market to make your fortune for when the market allows you to be correct. Because trading is a profession. It's an occupation, okay? You're not going to a casino here. This is your future, but the future is in ownership. Most people cannot afford to buy a house. Look at car loans now, 7 years. So what are people doing? They're buying crypto. They're taking physical ownership of crypto and saying, well, you know what? I can buy this because the world is changing. And in a world where tariffs are dominant and the world where there's economic sanctions, the stable coin, like what we went over, is the key to the US dollar by spreading out the risk of treasuries to the future consumption of the United States of America. I don't have enough time to go through all this, everybody. Please, do not lose your hope and nerve why you got into this. I need you to hold fast, okay? We're going to get through this, okay? We're going to get through this. Remember your plan, why I tell you to write everything down. Remember why you got into this situation. Remember you're in the wolf pack to pack up. You're not alone with this. Stop looking at these projections. Something's going to go to $1,000 or $10,000. I would love someone to tell me how something's going to $10,000 or $1,000 in a year. Someone explain this to me. I want to sit here and take notes. I'd like them to educate me. I'm a lifelong learner. I want to understand this, right? Because all I know is finance from some of the smartest people on the street for years of generations of traders and floor traders, okay? I want someone to explain to me, and I just want to take notes of how this is going to happen, because I'm a lifelong learner and perhaps they know something I don't, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, your engagement helps get this information out in front of more people. Thank you so much for tuning in, for liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts. Your support allows me to keep bringing these deep dive, high-value insights to the crypto community and my rants. As always, I want everyone to stay emotionless, no emotion, okay? Have a great day. And keep watching XRP, because these could be defining moments. This content is for information and entertainment purposes only and should not be taken as financial advice. Always do your own research and consult a licensed financial advisor before making investment decisions. Remember, the game is changing, and those who understand it first will benefit the most. Make sure you're on the right side of it. You have two choices. You can be like the crowd, reacting after the move, rationalizing why they missed it, telling themselves they'll never let it happen again, or you can be the one who saw behind the curtain, the one who understood the infrastructure shift, the one who positioned early, not randomly, but intentionally. Because some moments in history are loud, but the ones that change everything are quiet, right up until the moment they're not. And this is one of those moments. Do not blink, because the world is distracting you with noise, while XRP continues developing behind the scenes and building momentum in the broader digital asset landscape. Stay sharp, stay informed, accumulate knowledge. Your move now will be remembered. This is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning. This opened your eyes. Smash that like button, ring the bell, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Turn on notifications, and most importantly, subscribe to the Crypto Republic. We break down the major global banking trends shaping digital assets today, giving you contents, clarity, and research you can use. Don't just watch history happen. Stay informed, stay ahead, stay in the Republic.